So if you look at anyone who is experiencing mega growth, who knows anything about marketing, this is where they're focusing their attentions. In fact, everyone I talk to who kind of is leading the way in the world of marketing is talking about community marketing. What are the benefits and why should they be thinking about developing some kind of community approach to their marketing?
In community, we talk about a value exchange, and you have to be very clear what's in it for you as a brand or an organisation, because you're going to put a lot of time and a lot of thought and a lot of effort behind this. But why? Why are we doing this? Why are we committing time to this and effort and energy? The big thing that community gives to marketers is insights at scale.
You've got to be, as a business, giving back to the world and trying to make the world a better place. And that can just be purely by giving people free help or access to training. That can be by, recycling more.
You've got to create usefulness. You've got to create something that is of value for people to come back to time and time again. It's really important, because ultimately if we don't save the planet, if we don't do good things, if we don't give back in some way, shape or form, then, we're going to be out of business in a few decades' time.
Hello and welcome to Marketing in the Madness. If you've not been here before, welcome. I hope you are going to enjoy today's podcast. My name is Katie Street. I am the host of this podcast. I would like to think of myself as a bit of an expert in the marketing world. I have been doing this all of my career. I absolutely love marketing. I am a big advocate of marketing being the solution to your sales problem. It's what I talk about a lot. I am not someone who advocates cold calling. I am, however, a salesperson that has really started to flip, I hope, how lots of people think about solving the sales problem by taking a marketing-focused approach. Why? Well, one of the big reasons is, especially in the B2B world, 95% of the businesses that you want to sell to at the time you want to sell to them do not want or need the products and services you want to sell to them. Therefore, if you do not take a marketing-led approach to solving your sales problem, you are missing out on 95% of your audience. 95%. There's only 5% of them that actually want to buy your product or service at the time you're trying to sell it to them. So if you're taking a cold call approach, you've got to get in front of that 5% on the right day at the right time with the right message in a way that's actually going to get you noticed, which is so tough. You've got no influence. You've built no relationship with them. The sales process is going to be hard. So the approach that I like to take is all around building engagement and building a relationship with your prospects so that they come to you knowing who you are. They've already self-qualified themselves in. You've been providing helpful, insightful content and information that is going to help them overcome the problems they face in their day-to-day job or within their business. And they're going to be ready to buy you. And if you are in a competitive space, then I guess the other major thing is you're going to be much more likely to convert those leads than the competitors that you're up against if they haven't been taking this approach. So not only does taking a marketing approach to solving your sales problem attract you more leads, it also helps you convert more of them. So if you're new to the podcast, that's a lot of what I talk about. I talk about all the tactics. I'm interviewing some amazing people every single week, from brand CMOs, CEOs that are leading the way with developing very future-focused marketing strategies, all the way through to agencies, influencers. Oh, honestly, I'm super, super excited about some of the content that I'm going to be able to bring you, not just today, but in every episode. So if you're new here, welcome. I hope you are going to enjoy the podcast and I hope you enjoy listening today. Hello, Michelle, and welcome to the podcast. This is the first time we've met, and it feels like I've already met you because, of course, You've been on webinars.
I have.
We've connected loads over training on Guild when we've been trying to get our own community set up, which I promise you I am on, by the way. There's lots that we
You're
need to do.
You're a busy woman. I mean, community does take time. So, you've just got to set some space aside for that. But yeah, delighted to meet you in the flesh because it's really strange when you meet people for the first time. It's like, how tall are they? Do they actually look like the person that I've met before? And you do, and you are exactly the height that I guessed as well.
I know. Do you know what? Same with you. It's funny, isn't it? How sometimes you imagine people and when you meet them, it's totally different.
Well, I've been told I zoom big. So, I think it's just the big head, really.
Oh, gosh, no. You zoom beautiful. And, well, one, thank you for coming in person. I am starting to do so many of them, more of the future of the podcast are going to be, because we want to get really good quality, the best possible edits that we can for socials. So thank you for joining in person. Now, to give everyone some context, today we're going to be talking about something that is very prevalent for me and I think for everyone at the moment. And in fact, everyone I talk to who kind of is leading the way in the world of marketing is talking about community marketing and the importance of community marketing. And of course, Guild is a community platform that really enables that community marketing to come together and enables its success. So can you start by, I guess, telling me a little bit about Guild, and then I want to dig into you, and then I want to talk about community marketing. So there's lots to cover today. So first of all, tell us about Guild for those that don't know what the platform is.
Yeah, sure.
What does it do, and how can it help with a community-based marketing strategy?
Fantastic. Well, thank you. I mean, I couldn't have put it better, but Guild, somebody mentioned this to me the other day, and basically they said, if you took LinkedIn and if you took WhatsApp and you smushed them together, you would get something that is very much like Guild. So Guild is a community platform. It's chat-based, but it allows you to essentially build and create professional communities whereby you host the experience, you can brand them, but most importantly, you get to keep the data. Okay, now as marketers, the great thing about social is that these are where our audiences are, and you can obviously reach them in many, many massive numbers. However, when you start to think about building communities in these spaces, you don't own that experience. You don't own the features. You don't own the onboarding. They have very limited moderation and management features as well. So Guild actually wasn't created as a community platform 4 years ago. Its founder, Ashley Friedland, actually created it as an alternative to WhatsApp. And I think probably about a year in, Guild got its product market fit when we could see why people were using Guild. And that was to create safe, private, secure spaces where brands and organizations could speak to their most valuable customers or prospects, or peers, like, for example, communities of practice, people who are into a very niche area of marketing, such as channel marketing, for example, or crisis communications, could come together and actually establish a community of practice as well. So we looked at what was going on the platform and went, actually, it's time now really to talk about this word community. Now, that's great for me. Before I was a CMO, I've been a consultant for many years in social media and also community before social media. And I've actually been a lecturer in community strategy as well. So this really played to not only, I think, the platform's strengths, but also the leadership team's strengths. Ashley also built the Econsultancy community as well. So, for us, we are community professionals who just happen to have a platform that allows people to create these safe and trusted spaces where great things can happen, where people are greater than the sum of their parts.
Yeah. And I can just hands up say, guys, having worked with Michelle and the rest of the team at Guild, they're really hands-on at helping you kind of develop this community, advise you on how to manage the community, on how to make the most of it, how to create the best kind of content, how to encourage those conversations and really start to bring your community together. And it's great. I now sit on a few other community platforms as well as I promise we are going to come back. And in fact, the new podcast could be how we're really going to bring the community to life. So yeah, there's lots going on in the back of my mind because community marketing for me is the future of where we go. So let me give you kind of my view on community marketing and then let's delve into, I think first up, why community marketing is the future and what we can do and where you can start if you're actually thinking about developing a community. So for me, obviously we've built major engagement across varying channels because I have the podcast, because we have done lots of webinars, because I show up on our social media channels quite a lot, especially LinkedIn. We've built, I'm not going to call it a community, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
We've started to build really deep relationships with our prospects and just people that find our content really, really helpful. I talk a lot about marketing, the right tactics that you need to, focus on in order to grow your business, whether you're a small enterprise or a huge, large international business. The same rules apply. So we've got a highly engaged audience, I'm going to refer to them as.
Yeah.
Now, at some point when you've done really well at your marketing, hopefully like us, then I'm always thinking, what's the next step? How can I help these people more? How can I bring them together? How can I keep that conversation going, learn more and collate more data, understand more about their challenges? Because if I'm just pushing content out, and like you say, LinkedIn, Instagram probably are our top two platforms at the moment. We're starting to explore quite a bit more on TikTok as well. But we get comments, we get questions. I do get feedback, but I don't own those channels. I can't, really delve into that data that deeply. So actually for me, the next natural step, specifically around the podcast content, is to bring that into a kind of community platform, maybe that we can monetize, but more importantly, that we can actually bring you guys who are listening today together to connect, to ask questions, to maybe involve my guests. So, and that means that I'm learning a lot more about my audience. It means I'm able to connect with them a level deeper than I can just through my social channels. And that for me is why I'm super excited to have you here today. And actually, there's so much. So tell me the benefits from your point of view, Michelle, in terms of developing a community. Why should brands, our listeners today, we have a lot of people who work in the marketing sector, obviously, who are marketing specialists themselves listening to this podcast. What are the benefits and why should they be thinking about developing some kind of community approach to their marketing?
Gosh, that's a really big question. I think the benefits are everything you've just articulated before, that you can be the very best person at really understanding your audiences, their pains, the challenges that they have, what floats their boat, what gets them excited, what gets them innovated. And you can see all of those signals in social, and you can, see it when you're presenting at with an audience, etc. But one of the things about community is it is an owned platform. Okay, so certainly in integrated marketing communications, we talk about the Peso model, and there's a lot of kind of conversations around where does community sit? Well, it firmly sits in your owned platforms, and they are the ones that are incredibly powerful. And yourself, with digital marketing, email has always been kind of the hero, hasn't it? And actually, there are people who have communities just through email marketing, their Substacks, their newsletters, and they don't go any further than that. So for me, it's in that real power area, one of your power tools for marketing. And community essentially allows you to create an owned platform. You can set the rules of engagement. You can say, yes, I'm quite happy and I'm quite confident enough to allow my competitors in with my prospects, with my clients, with my partners, with my employees. You can create this environment and ecosystem that essentially you own. You set the rules. But I think this is where it's really, really different. In community, we talk about a value exchange, and you have to be very clear what's in it for you as a brand or an organization, because you're going to put a lot of time and a lot of thought and a lot of effort behind this in terms of the strategy, but also sustaining a community as well, because the community will go through a life cycle, which, God, I could talk about this for hours and I won't, but just Google community life cycle and you'll see, maybe one of my articles on this. But you're going to have to put a lot of time and thought into this. And so therefore, you've also got to think about this value exchange. What's in it for me? What value does this bring me as an organization? Does it move my sales prospects to conversion a lot quicker? Does it help me retain clients? Does it amplify my thought leadership? Does it build brand authority? Does it help me to recruit the right people for my growing business? There's so many things that community can do. And I think that's why it's so supremely powerful. But it's only powerful if your audiences, if your members feel that they gain something from that value exchange, if they feel as though they're part of something, if they feel that every time they log in, there's something of value, a nugget. It may not necessarily be a wonderful piece of content. It actually might just be knowing that somebody else is facing the same challenges as them. And I think that is the critical part of community, that it is this living, breathing, organic beast of individuals together who are essentially feeling the same thing or at the same stage in their career, or have just lost maybe one of their best employees and is feeling a bit adrift because they've got to kind of fill the gap. But community is very much that. It's that collective, it's that we. And I think the reason why a lot of marketers are getting excited about it but find it really difficult to get off the launch pad is that I think you've got to do a bit of navel gazing, and you've got to think about how you can be a trusted convener, how you can provide the wraparound, the place and the space where people can be helpful, where people can be supportive, where people can give away some of their secrets and also be a bit vulnerable as well. And, like professional networking, that element of vulnerability, if it's all smiles and sunshine and just you as a brand or organisation putting in conversations, starting stuff, using it as an avenue for your content marketing, it's not going to work. And it really will be something that people go, oh God, I can get that via email. There's no value there for me. So, ask me another question and make me focus, Katie, because there's so much in there. There's kind of planning, there's value exchange, there's alignment to organisational objectives, there's alignment to brand building. So communities are not fast. They're slow. You have to approach it in the same way that you would, your brand as an agency, as a technology provider or whatever. There's elements of it that are fast. CQLs, for example, if people are in market and they're showing you signals that they're ready to buy or they're closer to purchase or closer to having that sales meeting, then, that's absolute meat and drink for us marketers to be able to prove that by creating our owned channel, by inviting the right people in, by creating incentives for people to talk about their challenges, their vulnerabilities, the things that they want to address, then we've got magic at our fingertips. And I think you're as excited about it as I am. It's just that I've got a pony in this race, and that means people are going to have to find a space to put their community. And I'm hoping that they consider Guild.
Definitely. And do you know what it does? It makes me, I am one of those people that I just am like, oh, I need to do it now. There's something new and there's something shiny.
But didn't social media feel like that? Like 15 years ago.
Totally.
15 years ago when we were just starting to kind of muck around the edges. So when I first started to get Twitter, that was when I really started to get really excited about social media. It was an opportunity to reach the world. It was an opportunity to find people who were experts at something. And I think for those of us who are really early on Twitter, it feels like that in community. And the community specialists are going, what the hell are you talking about? Community's been here since the 1970s, but not in this way, not right now where people are taking it really seriously and putting effort and time and resource behind it.
Yeah, if you look at, honestly, I speak to so many amazing people on this podcast, and I did a recent recording with one of the marketing team at HubSpot, and I was like, what's on your agenda for 2023? Where's your focus? Community marketing, number one. If you follow any of Stephen Bartlett's team, his head of content, Grace Andrews, who has been responsible, for getting the Diary of a CEO to that number one ranking, her focus is all around community marketing. So if you look at anyone who is experiencing mega growth, who knows anything about marketing, this is where they're focusing their attention. So, heads up, that's why I'm talking about it on the podcast. If you're not focused on this, then we'll put some links, I think, Michelle, to some of the really great articles and content that you guys have got about that. So we talked about CQLs. For those of you that don't know what a CQL is, I'm hoping that you know what an SQL or an MQL is. I'm going to tell you about those as well. So MQL is marketing qualified lead. So when you can start to see that someone is engaging with your content, that's a really important one to kind of have front of mind. We all need to be having a way to score our MQLs and make sure that we've got marketing qualified leads. At some point, they then usually move over to becoming an SQL, which is a sales qualified lead. Now, in my head, and tell me if I'm wrong here, the CQL, so community qualified lead, potentially for me almost starts to bridge that gap. And that's how I'm looking at it from our marketing perspective is that journey. And I'm thinking about how we change all of our processes in line with this, not just for us, but also for our clients, because we do a lot of demand gen activity for our clients. We're really looking to engage prospects, looking at the different tactics that we use in order to do that. And for the clients that we work with, the most, the ones that retain us, that get the best results because they're committing to consistently investing in their marketing, they are the ones that I'm going to be talking to really, really soon. In fact, a lot of them, we already are, about developing some kind of community, because when we're hosting regular events, tactics, webinars, producing content for them, pushing things out on social media, once they get to a certain level of engagement, what's great about the CQL or the community side of things is that it gives us somewhere else to take them. It's something to level up to. Yeah. So when we can see there's been continuous engagement, they've attended lots of events or they've read lots of articles, it's something we say, hey, we can see you're really engaged. We've got this private group for our, most engaged, people, however you want to do, the people that are engaging with our content the most. Would you like to join? Because there's a whole host of other people here. You can continue the conversation. For instance, with this podcast, I might start to, you're going to tell what's coming next, guys, say, if you're enjoying the podcast, come and join and meet other listeners, other people that are leading the way in marketing. Come and meet them. Come and discuss the next topics with them. Maybe I'll start to invite our guests to host something or do something within those platforms. So you can really see how it will start to kind of play into the next steps. You can also, I think, see other trends that have started to happen. So things like Clubhouse, really, a bit like you were talking about Twitter, really kicked off. Unfortunately, it's kind of not died a total death, but it's definitely not as prevalent as it was. No, it might be at some stage, who knows? But, people want to meet other people, and that, in whatever vein and whatever way they do. You can tell what one of my questions is going to be later. Are you thinking about, because I am such a voice noter, which is why, and I don't know, maybe Guild's already got this and I'm just being really dim. Can you send voice notes?
You can't send voice notes, but you can translate your voice to text.
Okay,
so
cool.
Literally, because Guild is mobile first.
Yes.
If you've got an Android or an iPhone, you record your message and it types it out for you.
Yes.
So, I mean, Guild, like most community platforms, is it's for screen readers, and so therefore that's sort of built in. We don't have on the product roadmap anything around that, but what we do have is video rooms. So the ability to be able to host informal events, meetups, lunch and learns, espresso shots, or whatever you want to call them, and to kind of break people out into various groups. So, I mean, it's Clubhouse, but with video, basically.
Yeah, nice.
So, the thing about Clubhouse is really interesting, and just indulge me 1 minute on this, is that they had you've got to be on a wait list. Oh, this is the most exciting thing since sliced bread. However, if people don't go back to an app or kind of a platform, then you've got a real problem. And people didn't find it particularly sticky. They couldn't find the communities and the spaces and the conversations that were for them. And, that's... I look at Guild's growth, and we're 4 years old, and we're nearly at that sort of exponential hockey stick growth in terms of user numbers and the number of communities that are discoverable on Guild. But we never went through that sort of that hype cycle of people getting really, really excited about it. It's actually been much more of a slow burner, and actually maybe that's the testament to community-based marketing. What we did in our strategy was to build communities that were useful, so people would come onto the platform and then go, oh my God, we could create that for our own agency, professional services organisation, technology brand, ESG advisory, and the list goes on. So I think that we've got it right in terms of not having that huge kind of inflection point where people just went crazy about something, went on it 2 or 3 times and never opened the app again. You've got to create usefulness. You've got to create, something that is of value for people to come back to time and time again. And so, I'm delighted that you're going to put the effort into a community, because, you are a fabulous convener. You're really good at spotting these trends before they actually happen. And, we've been talking about this for nearly a couple of years, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing is, and I was going to ask you what your opinion is on why Clubhouse failed. And you've kind of said it there, but you couldn't access anything post. So once, the live conversations were potentially helpful and interesting.
But you can't always be there.
You can't always be there. And then you can't access it afterwards. So there was no transcript. There was no, oh, what did that person say? Where did they send me? So you could connect with people. So there was so much missing. And that's why, platforms like Guild, and actually, I'm hoping, as let's just push myself as I guess I am a bit of an early adopter, is I was looking for something like this for clients when I first started Street. Similarly, we're going to be 4 in May this year, so nearly 4 years old. And we were doing regular events for some of our clients, like in-person breakfast events mainly. And we needed somewhere to take the conversation afterwards. So we just started doing it on Slack because we didn't have, there was no community platform, but it wasn't there, 4 years ago, that wasn't, or 3.5 years ago, it wasn't so easy for us to set up. But the value in that for our guests, so we would invite them to a breakfast, we'd then set up a Slack channel. If you want to continue the conversation with the people that you met in the room, we're going to share in there some of the value, some of the clips, some of
you were
our
doing
notes.
The right thing. Slack is an accidental community platform.
It is,
though. So, we have a number of people who are migrating over to Guild because Slack is great for workflow. Slack is great for project teams and all of those things. It's not great to make friends. It's not great to, collaborate and to do good things as a community together. And it's a bit cold as well. So, I think what we've tried to do is to replicate the professional kind of feel of having, LinkedIn profiles and to extend out the features so it feels like you are actually having conversations and it feels much more like chat than a project. So Slack will be right for some people, but never put the technology first. Always think, what am I trying to do? What am I trying to achieve? And then obviously go and do your hunt, go and have a look at the platforms that are out there. It's some exciting stuff. If you're in the gaming kind of industry, then naturally you're going to kind of skew towards something like Discord. Slack is perfectly acceptable for a number of different communities, but do have a look for other platforms as well.
Yes, like Guild.
Like Guild, yeah. Thank you very much. Pay you later.
Yeah, of course. I mean, look, this isn't all about Guild because, of course, your experience spans so much further. But it is a great platform for this stuff, so definitely worth checking out, guys. So on that, I've told you I was going to go totally off brief because I'm really mean to my guests, and I always do that.
She gave me some questions, and literally we've not answered a single one.
No,
so.
I know. Sorry, I always do this. Because we get talking, and this is where the interesting...
I go, but that's the community professional in me, where we sort of pick things and then bring them back and try and create something out of discussions as well.
Yeah, and that is, it's a natural discussion. Yeah. That's what we're having today. So we're a good example of a community group. Look at that. So I have a question for you. Who is doing this really, really well? Who out there, and on the Guild platform or elsewhere, who do you see? And I'm talking, from a marketeer's point of view here. Which brands or which people do you see doing really, really well at community marketing?
Ooh, so I will pick one.
Yeah.
On the Guild platform, and then I'll pick one on Slack. Okay,
like it.
So there is an HR piece of software called the Happiness Index, and basically it measures how happy employees are, and it's lovely. Fantastic team, really fabulous. They've actually migrated their communities over from Slack to Guild, and what they are essentially doing is building authority, building trust, and building connections in the world of HR leadership. So on Guild, we've got the Chartered Institute of Personnel Development, lots of very senior PR professionals in their own sort of DE&I and regional communities, etc. But these guys who have a technology platform have a wonderful brand that aligns itself really well to the idea of the collective. So let's pull some HR leaders and professionals together. Let's discuss the challenges that we're having confidentially, because we can't talk about people here, but we can talk about hybrid working, and we can talk about ERG groups, and we can talk about actually, do we have a problem with Gen Z and, them coming into the workplace, all of these different things. So they are an example of an organisation that have taken community seriously, not just for lead generation, not just for thought leadership, but actually they have other communities for different stakeholders as well. So they've got an investor and an advisor community, and they are using community essentially in the round, not just for, sales and lead generation, SQLs, MQLs, CQLs. So that's an example of another. I think somebody else who is using community really effectively, and again, this sort of distributed version of community, and unfortunately is using Slack. But Joe Glover, if you hear this, you know our doors are always open, and that's the Joe Glover's marketing meetup as well. So I mean, I think that's got a lot of energy and enthusiasm and kind of advocates behind it. And I think what he has done is to tap into something that maybe a lot of the traditional marketing brands haven't necessarily done, whether they're publications or whether they are membership organisations and associations. I will give a caveat though. I think what the Marketing Society are doing around community is fabulous. And that isn't for prospects, that's for members only. So it's a member benefit. And if you are a member, they're on Guild, they have their coffee house. It's the place for really high level discussions around brand, high level discussions around, well, anything that is keeping very senior marketers up at night. And that's where they've created that trusted environment. The important thing, all of these, it's top down. It's not somebody in some team or department saying, oh, let's create a community. It's actually Sophie Devonshire saying community needs to be at the heart of our membership strategy. It's Matt at the Happiness Index. He was one of the co-founders saying, if we don't get community right, we don't have a product. So I think that's the important thing, that you can have the will at other levels in the organisation, but if your founder, if your leader, if your CEO doesn't get it, if they don't think that community is a reputational moat, if they don't think that it has value, then you're going to be struggling a bit, I think.
Yeah. And also, I think you've made a really good point there, quite naturally, and we spoke about this earlier, is why? Why are you developing a community? Is it from a marketing perspective and therefore it's something free that people can access and that you're putting time into it? Or maybe not, it doesn't have to be free, but you're more likely to have it free if it is to help you qualify more leads. Yeah. Or is it because you're launching a product or a membership subscription or something else that is an exclusive dial up to an already engaged audience? So I think there's two, which you can, I mean, that's where my brain starts to go, like, excited because it can be both.
There's many more reasons. So again, I kind of feel a bit like some celestial being sometimes, but I can see thousands and thousands of communities on Guild. I'm not in all of them. I'm in about 140 of them.
Oh, wow.
But there are also communities that are saving the planet, quite literally saving the planet. So getting champions in net zero and sustainability to come together to do more. There are philanthropy communities getting high net worth individuals to come together to give more and to give better as well. So it isn't just about profitability, isn't just about extraction, it's also about giving back and saving the planet as well. So, that makes me feel really happy. I know, little deep breath of worthiness then, but it's really important, because ultimately if we don't save the planet, if we don't do good things, if we don't give back in some way, shape or form, then, we're going to be out of business in a few decades' time, and certainly my kids won't be going to the world of work. So, I'm getting all morose here. Pull me back.
No, but it's so good, and
it's true.
So true. And do you know what? Actually, this is something that I talk about a lot, but it's top of mind for marketeers because, well, for anyone who's working in a business that is procuring anything, any kind of service, any kind of product, especially in the bigger businesses, these are not tick boxes anymore. Yeah. You've got to be seen to be giving back and doing good, and have, whether it's about D&I, whether it's about your green credentials, whatever it is, you've got to be, as a business, giving back to the world and trying to make the world a better place. And that can just be purely by giving people free help or access to training. That can be by recycling more. That can be by becoming B Corp, whatever it might be. There's going to be lots of different things that impact how you become a more helpful, sustainable business. And it is front of mind for especially, any kind of major business. They want to be working with other businesses that are giving back to the world in a positive way.
And I think your community, regardless of whether you have that in a virtual or digital space, will tell you what they want from you as well. So again, just coming back to community, it's really important. For me, the big thing that community gives to marketers is insights at scale. First party data, zero party data, just a small sea change in thinking. And you and I, we both love reading the marketing press, but I think I just wouldn't want to be in business unless I felt that I was doing something with a light touch and doing something that kind of led to a better society. So, what we do at Guild, we do many things, but we give away our software to charities and organisations. So I was talking to Disability FC, who are going to, kind of get people into sport with disabilities this morning. And it's just brilliant to listen to their missions and just to think, well, actually, I can help you and I can make your Marcoms much more effective. I can build that community with you and I can get people into sport, not just playing sport, but also refereeing in the business of sport as well. And that makes me feel good.
Yeah, you're giving back to the world.
Yeah.
I mean, that does. It makes us all feel better if we can actually do something, especially as we get older. I think for me, in my 20s, I was much more selfish than I am now in my 40s. I want to help people. So yes, it's a very different world out there to, maybe 20 years ago. Maybe that's also why it's different. I think we just care more now.
Yeah.
So for someone that is, and obviously this podcast mainly is around marketing, so let's look at it through the marketing lens. For someone who is considering, do you know what, I really want to start to consider how I can start to involve or develop a community and start to create CQLs as well as MQLs and SQLs. What would be the first steps that you advise them to take when they're thinking about their community strategy?
Get out a big piece of paper. Okay, so I tried to commit 25 years of experience in marketing and communications and community to a single page. And I think I achieved that a couple of years ago. I created a model called the Periodic Table of Community Strategy. And it is everything that you need to think about on a single page. But these are only questions that you need to be asking yourself. So, for example, why? Why does this community exist? What difference will this community make if we were to create it? And that's really important. What would the world be missing? What would people who are in my community be missing? Or does this exist already? If it exists, what's my take on this? Why will it be better? So you've got to get your why right. And that might be a series of whys. But essentially that needs to align to your organisational objectives. Now, there might be marketing objectives, your sales objectives, your product innovation objectives, your ESG objectives, your DE&I, the list goes on. But why? Why are we doing this? Why are we committing time to this and effort and energy? The next thing is to think about the type of community that you have. Now, I've written about the 4 Ps in community. There's also a C as well. So there's the community of product, a community of place, community of play, a community of practice, and that's largely where you're going to be sitting with your community, and a community of purpose. So I was talking about the philanthropy community. That's an example of one of those. There's also a community called a community of circumstance, and that's people who, might, for example, be living with a specific disease or condition. That's slightly outside of marketing. That's more of a kind of a community thing. So what type of community do I have? My why, my alignment to organisational objectives. And only then do you start to think about roles and resources and then potentially what your technology might be. So from an internal perspective, your why should translate into your purpose statement. So it's almost like, what's on the front door and why would people come into the community in the first place? What's on that invitation that says this is what you'll get from joining other people within this community? And on Guild, we have a landing page for every community that is discoverable and public. So some are private, you'll never ever get to see them. Some are discoverable. And we try and ask people to think about their internal purpose statement and then their external purpose statement. So what's in it for members? Is it about connecting with others, collaborating, solving a kind of a higher purpose, etc.? Or is it actually just about having fun or feeling a little bit less lonely in your role, for example? But they're the kind of things that you need to think about. Within your organisation, you then need to think about who's going to resource this. Now, it's really important, and as important as the technology, to have somebody who is managing your community, a community manager. Now, this person might be the host. It might be somebody who is completely, anonymous within your community. But ultimately, they're the person that does the day-to-day. They welcome and they onboard new members. They make people feel comfortable. They join the dots. They don't ever let a conversation go unanswered, because they'll find somebody within the community, either direct messaging them or pulling them in, or externally to the community, to actually address or answer that question. And if it's unanswerable, then they'll do their very best to say, hang on, I'm going to go away and find out some more information and then come back and address this for you. So a community manager is, it's like a glittery unicorn. A community manager is one of those very special people who is a people person, a convener, a networker, a problem solver, a spam warrior. So, no selling in my community. They can connect the dots. They can bring people together to do fantastic things. And that's a really important consideration. Like putting on an event, you wouldn't just, book a event space and then book some speakers. You would actually think about, wayfinding, making sure that people know what to do when they arrive, where to put their coats, all of those different things. It's exactly the same in a community. And then just going back to, what it is that you're trying to achieve, you also need to think about your measurements and metrics and your milestones as well. So what's going to be important? What are we going to be measuring in our community? Not just for a few weeks, but actually you're going to commit to this for not just months, but probably years as well. And then only then you start to think about different types of members and the different types of personalities that you might have to deal with. And then things like your content, your stimulus, your discussions, those events, all of those different things. As I say, all of it is on the periodic table of community strategy, and it will enable you just to go through and then start to address those questions. But what I would say, the best thing that you can do as a community professional is to join and join some other communities as well, where those people hang out. So again, I'll put in the resources some examples of communities that I'm in, including on the Platform Guild as well, where us community professionals hang out and we give each other help and support as well. Generous people,
Yeah, I need to join those ones because
come and hang out with us.
Me.
Come and hang out with us.
They're going to really help me. So you're going to share some links.
I will.
The periodic table of community strategy. Yeah, brilliant. That one, I think. Well, I'm going to work through it. So I hope some of you guys, listening are going to do exactly the same. Mm-hmm. That is a great place to start. Honestly, Michelle, I've got so many more questions for you.
Part 2.
We're going to have to do a part 2. Before I let you go, mm-hmm. I have 2 questions for you. So I keep thinking I needed a better way to end the podcast. So I'm actually going to ask you for 2 things. So one, outside of the reading that you're going to share, mm-hmm. is there a book, an article or something, I guess can be around community, but around something that you just find really interesting that you could recommend to our listeners?
So there's so many books. So many years ago when I was kind of writing my lectures, so I lectured in community strategy at Manchester Metropolitan University. There weren't that many books that were available, but there was one by John O. Bacon, and I can't remember what it's called, but that's definitely worth going back and going to have a look at. There is a book called The Art of Gathering.
Oh, that sounds perfect.
Yeah.
I like that.
And there's another one called, it's Chemistry. And it's all about the idea and the principles behind what kind of networker you are. We're just writing an article around professional networking within communities and how it's slightly different to social media. And I think that for a lot of people, they believe that personal networking is a bit of a dirty word. Actually, if you start to apply it to community and you don't just think about yourself, but you think about how you're bringing other people with you and on, then that's a really good thing. So I can't remember the name of the book and the title exactly, but that's a really good one. I think it's called Chemistry by Melissa somebody or other. And I will recommend something that I co-wrote with our founder, Ashley Friedlin, and that's community-based marketing. What it is, it's a best practice guide. It's free. It's ungated, 160 pages, but it is sort of the de facto book on community-based marketing right now.
Amazing. We will pop all of the links in the show notes. If anyone wants any more details, then you can always email me, katie@street.agency, and I can share my insights or even maybe introduce you to Michelle if you really want to
always
chat.
Love to chat about community.
Brilliant. And my last question, mm-hmm. very last question, promise, mm-hmm. Is who else should I have on the podcast? Is there anyone, I feel like Joe Glover maybe by the sounds of things, but is there anyone that you would like to hear from or that you think I should be inviting on the show?
Gosh, there's so many people. Do you know who I'm a really good fan of in terms of leadership? And that's Tamara Littleton.
I love Tamara. I've had her
Have you had on your podcast?
I've had her on Word on the Street before. She's done amazing.
Get her in here because I think she's one of those fabulous CEOs and fabulous leaders that actually she has done the whole community thing. In fact, her business was pre-social media and they were community managers. You know, they came from the world of community. And I think she applies those principles not just to how she works with her clients, but also her business as well. So her business very much is a community and she treats her employees, her staff incredibly well. And it's a sense of a collective responsibility and what can we do together. And I think that really permeates in everything that she does as a leader.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Inspiring marketer.
Yeah, she really is. Yeah, so her agency's called The Social Element. And she told me the story actually. She started, I feel quite bad because I think I drunk recorded that podcast. I'd been at like a lunch thing and then I say drunk, I'd probably had like 2 glasses of wine, which is drunk for me.
This is vodka, by the way.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Vodka, not water. And what an amazing story. You know, started her agency, as lots of people talk about starting businesses, in her garden shed, I think. But way before, you know, I guess COVID or anything like, you know, the way that we work today where you had people working all over the place and it didn't matter if you didn't have an office. She did that way before that was a thing.
That's it.
And has built her business around that, which is why community and her approach to nurturing her team has been super interesting. So maybe there's some clips I can steal from that podcast actually, which might even be relevant for this podcast. But yeah, I'm gonna have a chat with Tamara. I need to catch up with her, and she's brilliant. So yes, thank you. Good recommendation.
Thank you.
Michelle, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for
It has been a pleasure. As always, often with my guests, these interviews kind of get me to think about all the things that I need to be doing yesterday. So thank you for inspiring me, and I'm sure you have inspired our listeners as well.
Thanks for inviting me.
I really hope you enjoyed today's episode as much as I did. Every single time I record this podcast, I just get so much from it. I learn so much myself. I hope, guys, that I'm asking the questions that are front of mind for you, because that's what this is all about. So if you did like it, we are new. We're not out for too long with Marketing in the Madness. I would really, really appreciate you heading over to Apple Podcasts, giving us a 5-star review, making sure that you leave some comments in there around what you liked, what you enjoyed, because that will really help me get better guests. It will help me ask the right questions. So yeah, please do leave your comments and yeah, hopefully a 5-star review. And of course, also, if you have got any questions or any guest recommendations, anyone that you would like to hear from, feel free to pop me an email, Katie, that's Katie, at street.agency. I love that I'm just giving my email out for all, but yeah, that's what I'm all about. I'm an open book. Pop me an email and yeah, ask me the things that you want me to ask my guests and tell me who you want me to invite on the podcast. I really hope you enjoyed today. I hope that you come back and listen again soon. There's going to be lots and lots and lots of very exciting guests coming up. Also, please hit that subscribe button on Spotify, Apple. I know that you can subscribe. I'm hoping more of the platforms soon will also let you subscribe. So yeah, hit that subscribe button. Make sure that the downloads are coming straight into the platform that you listen to us on. And I hope to welcome you back here to listen to another podcast very soon.